7 haunting, bone-chilling discoveries uncovered in the forbidden depths of the woods. The Johnson family thought they were escaping the weight of the world as they settled into the crumbling farmhouse in Maplewood. Little did they know, the woods looming behind their new home held secrets darker than any corporate layoff. Strange occurrences whispered from the trees, stories of the long-lost freedom seekers who vanished without a trace, their spirits now haunting those twisted paths that meandered through the heart of the forest. On the very first day, the air felt thick, as if the woods were holding its breath. Mike and Sarah Johnson, new residents seeking a fresh start, noticed the locals' smiles didn't reach their eyes. The townsfolk shared hushed tones, warning their children not to stray near the forbidden path. "Best stay away from there," an old man muttered, face shadowed with doubt. "You never know who might still be out there." But curiosity consumed Jake and Mia. Their hearts raced at the thrill of the unknown, feeding off the eerie tales whispered amongst the adults at the housewarming gathering. The energy shifted, the room charged with secrets wrapped in half-formed stories. As night fell, the two siblings crept toward the woods, laughter blending with the quiet rustling of leaves. With each step on the leaf-strewn ground, darkness wrapped around them like a heavy cloak. They spotted odd markings carved into the trees, resembling faces frozen in fear. Jake felt a chill course down his spine, almost as if the very trees were watching and whispering warnings. "Do you think it's true?" Mia whispered, wide-eyed. Before they could answer, they stumbled upon the ancient stone altar, hidden and overgrown with vines like some grim throne of the past. Its presence sent shivers through their bones. They could almost hear the echoes of chants lost to time. What rituals had taken place here? The hair on the back of their necks stood on end, heavy with the weight of unanswered questions. Meanwhile, Mike and Sarah were navigating their own shadows. Mike wrestled with self-doubt. Losing his job made him feel like a ghost of the man he once was. Sarah glanced out the farmhouse window, yearning for the vibrant life she dreamed of, but instead, felt shackled by an unshakable gloom. Doors creaked open inexplicably, and shadows danced at the corners of their eyes, igniting unease within the crumbling walls of what was meant to be their sanctuary. Someone had to confront this oppressive history choking Maplewood. So, determined to address these eerie happenings, Mike organized a town hall meeting. The tension was palpable, angry murmurs bounced off the old walls as stories poured out, piercing through years of silence. Each tale revealed the deep-rooted pain tied to the spirits of freedom seekers lost within the woods, stirring division in the town, those who wished to face the past and those who preferred to bury it. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the whispers grew louder, so did the children's anxiety. Moments later, Jake and Mia burst into the room, eyes wide, hearts racing. "You won't believe what we found!" they exclaimed. The connection to Maplewood's past was stronger than anyone had imagined, and the truth was more complicated than fear alone could contain. The woods suddenly felt alive, pulsing with energy and secrets yet to be unveiled. Would they dare face what the shadows held, or would fear keep them shackled in the dark? The townsfolk shifted in their seats, wariness etched on their faces as they exchanged glances. It felt as though the air thickened, alive with a tension that twisted in the pit of their stomachs. Mike straightened in his chair, a lump forming in his throat. "What did you find?" His voice trembled slightly, the weight of concern heavy in the room. Jake swallowed, drawing in a deep breath. "We found an altar. It's in the woods, and it looks like it's been there for ages. There are carvings, faces all over the trees." A wave of gasps surged through the gathering. Whispers fluttered like leaves in the wind, some eyes widened with fear while others darkened with skepticism. Was it real? Or was it yet another wild invention of children drawn too close to their own imaginations? Mia stepped forward, clutching her brother's arm. We swear. It's not just a story. Or maybe, it is. But something felt off. The whole place, it was watching us. A silence fell, punctuated only by the creaking of an old chair as a disheveled woman in the back spoke up. I warned my son to steer clear of the woods. She rose, her voice rising in pitch. We can't let them know, we mustn't stir up whatever is lurking there. They're just children after all. Nonsense! Shouted a burly man from the front. We can't keep pretending those woods are harmless. If the past is reaching out to us, then we need to find out why. If we ignore it, we might lose another family to those woods. The room buzzed with escalating tension as Mike gripped the edges of his chair, his knuckles turning white. The conversation swung wildly from fear to anger, each person battling the other's demons. Outside, the wind howled, a warning from the pit of the forest. Amidst the unrest, Sarah's eyes sparkled, reflecting a mix of determination and dread. Maybe Jake and Mia's discovery could be a way to bring closure, a way to find out what happened to those who vanished. As the words escaped her lips, it was as if a spell had been cast. Everyone turned to face her, their breaths caught in their throats. She stood, emboldened. What if we organized a search? We could seek the truth together. Unite this town for one purpose, to face the past. The room echoed with murmurs, some supportive while others were vehemently against it. A man in the corner, grizzled and bitter, called out, "You're inviting trouble, Sarah. Those spirits don't want to be disturbed." Abruptly, Mike thumped the table, causing the old wood to splinter. Shadows flickered around them. But we can't hide from our own history forever. We owe it to those who've suffered to learn the truth. The children exchanged nervous glances, the adrenaline surging through them like electricity. Mia leaned closer to Jake. What if we really are bringing something back with us? What if the stories are true? Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the hall into a deeper darkness, only the slivers of moonlight casting eerie patterns on the floor. And then, a distant whisper slithered in through an open window, a voice as soft as the breeze, yet carrying the profound weight of sorrow. Help us, panic erupted, and everyone stood, desperate to escape the control of an unseen force, yet no one moved toward the exit. The door slammed shut with a deafening crash, echoing through the whispers of the past. As Jake and Mia locked eyes, their hearts raced. It was clear now, something was stirring in the shadows of Maplewood, something ancient and restless. They had disturbed the peace, but what awaited them in the wilderness beyond? What if the truth they sought was far more sinister than any legend could convey? Would they dare step closer to the abyss? The room pulsed with fear, the weight of the unknown pressing down like a heavy fog. Shadows danced along the walls, their movements unpredictable and unnerving. Jake's heart thundered in his chest, the whisper still echoing in his head. Help us, it sounded desperate and mournful, tugging at something deep inside him. No! Sarah shouted, her voice fierce, cutting through the rising panic like a knife. We won't let fear control us. But even as she spoke, her hands trembled, and she shifted her weight as if ready to bolt. What if it's a trap? Someone murmured from the back, voice quaking. The questions became a swarm, thrumming in the air. What if it wants us to come? With each murmur, the town hall felt smaller, the walls pressing in around them. Mike, resolute, took a step forward. We're going to do this. Together. If we leave it be, it'll fester. I'd rather face whatever lies in those woods than live in the shadow of it. The notion sparked a flicker of bravery, yet doubt lingered in the air. Mia glanced at Jake, uncertainty flashing in her eyes. Would heading back to the woods mean confronting more than just stories? What other horrors could they awaken? Listen! Jake shouted, nerve lighting his voice. If we go, we need to be smart. We prepare ourselves. Research what we can about the altar. If we find out what we're dealing with, maybe we can help whoever is out there. Too many have gone without a trace, the bitter man in the corner barked. His gaze was sharp, piercing like an accusation. And you're willing to gamble lives? Every minute we sit here, we're allowing fear to win, Sarah replied, her voice rising in hope. We owe it to those who disappeared. What if their spirits are trapped? We must be their voice. Outside, the wind howled, rage and sorrow melding into a mournful song. The presence in the hall felt weighty, thick with histories unspoken. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging the room deeper into darkness. This time, it felt different. An oppressive silence settled, heavier than before, then, one by one, the townsfolk began to hear it again, soft and insistent. Help us reverberated through the silence, a chorus imbued with pain that sent shivers down their spines, compelling the crowd to huddle closer. What is happening? Mia whimpered, as the whisper rose to a crescendo, voices overlapping. It's like they're grabbing us. Max! One woman screamed, hands flailing like a trapped bird. My son! We've got to help him. In the chaos, Jake held Mia's hand tighter, feeling the tremors pass through her small frame. This was no longer just about their town's past, it felt deeply personal. A sharp pain throbbed in his head, a lingering echo of the warnings they had received. They needed to act, but what would that demand of them? All right. Mike clapped his hands loudly, pulling everyone's focus like a beacon of desperation. We meet at dawn. Not just any search. We'll be equipped, bringing not just lanterns, but items to communicate, Ouija boards, maybe even a camera. We face whatever waits. A heavy murmur of agreement rippled through the hall, but unease shimmered under the surface. Tomorrow we confront the truth, Jake whispered to Mia, clenching her hand with a mix of fear and determination. The fear of what awaited them out there loomed even larger now, but as the last glimmers of light flickered out, an unshakable feeling wrapped around Jake's heart. Deep down, he sensed that the truth they were about to uncover might shatter everything they believed. What if, when they crossed into the woods, they ended up revealing not only the secrets of the past but awakening the very forces that had long waited to reclaim their lost power? That thought hung in the air, heavy as lead. Would tomorrow hold salvation or chaos? As shadows lengthened, one truth remained: tomorrow, they would step into the unknown. The dawn broke like a scream, sunlight slicing through the fog that blanketed the town. Jake stood at the edge of the woods, heart racing and palms clammy. The chilling whispers from the night before still lingered in his mind, wrapping around his thoughts like vines constricting a tree. Are we really doing this? Mia's voice trembled beside him. The group had gathered, their faces etched with a blend of resolve and sheer dread. Jake scanned their expressions. Mike seemed determined, Sarah's eyes blazed with fire, but the worried glances exchanged between others spoke volumes. We are, Jake whispered, swallowing hard to steady the knot in his throat. For Max. As they entered the woods, shadows cast by towering trees stretched ominously towards them, twisting like dark fingers reaching out. Each step felt heavy, as if the ground itself was reluctant to let them pass. The air was thick with something unnameable, a strange energy that prickled at the back of Jake's neck, pushing him to glance over his shoulder. Stay close, everyone. Mike called out, breaking the uneasy silence. We stay together, no matter what. The wind howled again, and from deep within the forest came an echo of that haunting plea: help us. No, no, no. Mia murmured, gripping Jake's arm hard enough to leave marks. What if they heard us? If they were truly trapped, Sarah said, her voice steely despite the tremor, they'd be waiting for someone to help them. They pushed further into the trees, the sun struggling to penetrate the canopy. Shadows flickered, bending reality, making every rustle seem like a whisper, every snap of a twig an omen. With every passing moment, the atmosphere thickened, dense with an oppressive weight. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a clearing. In its center stood the ancient stone altar, gnarled and overgrown with vines. It was a twisted amalgamation of nature and something darker, something that felt alive. The energy was palpable, and a sense of foreboding hung in the air like smoke. Jake felt his heart race faster. "Look at the markings." Sarah pointed, excitement mixed with fear. The carvings danced across the stones, depicting figures in torment, faces that mirrored the anguish they had heard. Jake stepped closer, drawn inexplicably to it. His fingers brushed against the cold surface, tingling as he did. The moment he made contact, a vision flashed in his mind: a boy's face, pale and trembling, his mouth opening in a silent scream. "Jake!" Mia grabbed his other arm, pulling him back. "Are you okay?" He blinked, the world spinning back in place. "I saw something." "What?" Mike asked, moving closer, urgency etched across his face. "It was a boy," Jake said, struggling to catch his breath. "He looked so scared." "Like Max?" Mia asked, panic creeping into her voice. "Maybe," Jake whispered, feeling urgency snap around them. Suddenly, a low rumble rumbled from within the depths of the forest. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and a chilling wind howled through the clearing, swirling the leaves into a frenzied dance. "Run!" Mike shouted, fear igniting his command. But when they turned to flee, the path blurred, twisting in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The woods shifted around them, branches elongating, roots snaking across the ground like live serpents. Shadows leapt and danced around them, whispering words they couldn't quite comprehend, yet filled with unmistakable dread. "Help us!" The cries intensified, louder and more desperate, echoing through the tangled trees, wrapping around them like chains. Just when Jake thought they could no longer bear the screams, he spotted something flickering at the edge of the clearing: a light. A beacon in the chaos. "Mia! Over there!" he shouted, yanking her forward, pushing through the frenzy wrapping them tighter. As they reached the light, it flickered and dimmed, revealing more than they had expected. The glimmer illuminated a dark mirror reflecting their own fear, but also glimpses of those who had vanished in the woods, the lost, crying out for help. In the swirling chaos, a horrifying realization hit Jake. They weren't just here to search for the lost, they were teetering on the brink of an awakening. The woods didn't just hold ghosts, they held everything they thought they were seeking. What if we become part of their story? Jake breathed, dread pooling in his stomach, but before anyone could respond, the ground below erupted, shaking violently, forcing them forward as a deafening roar consumed their cries. As the shadows coiled tighter, one thought crystallized in the chaos: a terrifying truth: they weren't seeking the truth. The truth was seeking them. Through the fear and confusion, they charged toward the light, unaware of what terrible revelation awaited them. Would it be liberation or further damnation? What lay beyond that threshold? In that heartbeat, the wood sighed, as if holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable question that loomed. Would they escape its grasp, or were they destined to become the newest whispers in the haunting echo of time? The light pulsed like a heartbeat, fierce yet fragile. Jake felt a primal urge to reach for it, but he hesitated. The air around them was electric, charged with the screams of the lost and the unsettling energy of the altar. As they sprinted towards the flicker, shadows danced malevolently in their periphery, making frantic gestures, warning them of dangers undetermined. "Keep moving!" Mike shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony. There was a fire in his eyes, a desperate hope to push through whatever darkness awaited them. Mia tugged on Jake's sleeve, her eyes wide as she glared at the swirling shadows nearing them. "What if we don't make it?" "Don't say that." Jake snapped back, but even he felt the weight of those words pressing down. Fear snaked through him, tightening its grip around his chest. With each step they took, the ground beneath them churned like the sea in a storm, roots entwining around their ankles, trying to pull them back, to take them down. "They don't want us to leave," Sarah cried, glancing over her shoulder. The shadows surged behind them, gaining and losing form as if they were feeding off the group's terror. Almost there. Mike roared, pushing ahead, his determination fierce as the light grew brighter. But as they neared the light, a wave of cold surged toward them like a flood. It struck with an otherworldly chill, freezing them in place, a palpable force that felt like despair personified. Jake shivered, disbelief clawing at his thoughts. All they needed was to reach that beacon, yet here they were, trapped in an icy grip. Don't stop. Just a little further. Jake urged, summoning every ounce of strength he had. The light shimmered temptingly, alluring and sinister at the same time. Suddenly, Mia screamed. She was yanked to the ground, the roots wrapping around her, holding her fast. "Jake! Help me!" She sobbed, her panic rippling through the group like an electric shock. "No!" Jake screamed, rushing back to her, but the darkness surged forward, threatening to swallow him whole. The shadows were alive, swirling and shrieking, determined to claim their prey. "Grab her hand!" Mike shouted, lunging toward Mia. Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he reached down, gripping her hand tight. As the two boys strained to pull her free, Sarah yelled, "We have to fight against it." With a surge of adrenaline, they pulled harder. The shadows shrieked in anger, as if they were fierce beasts clawing at their last chance for capture. Then, just as despair threatened to overwhelm them, Mia clawed at the ground, wrenching herself free with a desperate gasp. Jake dragged her up just as the light exploded into a blinding aura, revealing a scene they never expected. The light opened a door into something beyond echoes of laughter, friends long forgotten, memories swirling in a dreamlike dance. "Look!" Mia pointed, breathless. "Is that Max?" Jake whispered, stunned. The ghostly figure of his friend flickered there for a heartbeat before the shadows surged again, obscuring the vision. Max's eyes were wide with panic, and a wordless scream filled the air. Out of nowhere, a guttural growl erupted from the depths of the blackness surrounding them. The ground lurched violently, creating a chasm directly behind them. The altar behind them began to crumble, the carvings contorting into hideous faces that roared in silent agony, unleashing a visceral wave of fear. "Jake!" Mia screamed. "We need to decide, stay or go." Jake's heart twisted painfully as he glanced back at the fading light, where he thought he saw Max reaching out, yearning for them to come closer. "Run!" Mike shouted, breaking the spell of indecision. "We decide now." With fear coursing through his veins, Jake clenched Mia's hand, locking eyes with Mike and Sarah. "Together!" he cried. They bolted forward into the light once more, moving as one through the emergency of the moment, but shadows tore at their heels. Just as they reached the threshold, the chilling howl of those left behind echoed through the woods. The last remnants of the darkness closed in, clawing for a final grasp. The world tipped, and everything spiraled into a blinding eruption of pain, sound, and the sudden pull of the unknown. As Jake felt himself being lifted, suspended in that transformative moment, a single thought screamed through the chaos: had they truly escaped, or had they only slipped deeper into the void? Then came a silence that felt heavier than any scream. With one final surge, he burst through, but into what? The darkness lingered, and the familiar sound of rustling leaves faded into unsettling echoes, leaving them shrouded in a shadowy mystery. What awaited them beyond the veil? Would they find themselves sealed in a new prison or finally grasp the truth? The stillness was thick, almost suffocating. Jake blinked, trying to clear the fog that enveloped his mind. Where were they? The air was still, but it carried a strange weight, as if the world was holding its breath. Mia's hand squeezed his, her pulse a frantic rhythm against his skin. Had they really escaped? Panic flared within him. He wanted to pull her close, to find a semblance of safety. "Are we safe?" he gasped, scanning their surroundings. Mike stepped forward, his eyes darting systematically. "I don't know. But it's quiet." The shadowy remnants of the altar seemed like a nightmare washed away by a tide of light. Yet around them, the trees stood tall and foreboding, their branches reaching for something unseen. "Look!" Sarah pointed, whispering as if speaking too loudly would shatter the fragile calm. There, standing in the dim light, was something they hadn't noticed before. It was a dilapidated cabin nestled between the trees, vines crawling up its sides like desperate fingers. The walls slumped inward, as if they had bowed under a great weight. Darkened windows watched them like eyes full of secrets. "Do we go in?" Mia whispered, a shiver running down her spine despite the absence of cold. "Yeah, we should check it out," Mike replied, masking uncertainty with bravado. "Maybe there's something inside that can explain what just happened." With tension coiling in his chest, Jake led the way, each hesitant step crunching on the brittle leaves below. They reached the porch, the wood creaking ominously beneath their weight. "This place looks like it's been abandoned for years," he murmured, glancing back at his friends. "Or maybe it tripped through the same nightmare we just escaped," Sarah offered, her tone light, but her eyes were wide with fear. They pushed the door open, the hinges protesting with a mournful groan. Jake peered inside, heart racing. Shadows swirled in the corners, gaping holes where furniture once stood, now a mere suggestion of what had been. Dust motes floated lazily in the beams of sunlight breaking through fractured boards. "Is anyone here?" Mike called, his voice betraying a crack of doubt. Silence was the only response. Jake stepped further in, feeling a strange pull toward the hearth. It was cold but eerily inviting, as if it longed to be rekindled. On the mantel rested small trinkets, each one coated in thick layers of grime. An old photograph caught his eye, and as he leaned in, his breath caught. It was a group of people, arms draped around each other, smiling widely. But the longer he looked, the more uneasy he felt. Each face slowly began to morph, contorting as if trapped between joyful memories and a sinister past. There, in the back, was a familiar face, one he thought he had left behind. "Max," Jake breathed, stepping back as a wave of nausea washed over him. "Jake? What is it?" Mia's voice was laced with concern. Go back," he shouted, adrenaline crashing through him. "We need to leave." With urgency, they turned to escape, but the door slammed shut, splintering the air with an ominous finality. Panic engulfed them as shadows pooled around the edges, whispering, twisting, reaching for a piece of their reality. What was happening? The photo burned in Jake's mind. "We have to find another exit," he cried, scanning the room, but as they searched, the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of despair and madness that wrapped around their thoughts, drowning them in a chorus of dread. The memories of their past screamed through the cabin, clawing at the edges of their sanity. Suddenly, the floor trembled, and the walls sank closer. Jake's heart raced. It wasn't just the darkness that threatened them now, it was their own past coming back, demanding to be acknowledged, to be faced. With a final surge of courage, he shouted, "We're not afraid of you." But deep down, he felt the grip of fear tightening, a whisper of doubt slithering through his resolve. Would they find a way out, or would the cabin consume them whole, twisting their own histories against them? As the shadows lunged, something flickered, a light in the far corner. Was it real, or just another trick of the mind? Jake hesitated, his pulse racing with dread. "Go," he ordered, not knowing if they could escape the relentless grip of the past. The walls pulsated, closing in like a vice, and Jake could feel the suffocating grip of fear around his chest. He instinctively backed away from the flickering light, the strange glow pulsing like a heartbeat. "Maybe it's a way out," Mia urged, pulling him toward the shimmer. "No. We can't." But before Jake could finish, Mia was already moving toward it, compelled by an unseen force. Mike followed close behind her, eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Stop!" Jake shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the growing din of the cabin, the whispers now a roar that churned through his mind. He felt dizzy, like he might collapse. There was something not quite right about that light. Something compelling, yet dangerously treacherous. He darted after them, the heavy air pressing down like a wet blanket. "Get back!" he screamed, but it was too late. The light flickered once, then shot out of the corner like lightning, illuminating an object. "What is that?" Sarah's voice quivered, her breath hitching in her throat as she pointed toward the shimmering form. It appeared to be a mirror, its frame ornate and twisted, almost writhing against the walls, covered in dark grime and sticky cobwebs. The light gathered around it, beckoning. They were drawn closer, as if each step pulled them into an inescapable fate. Jake's heart hammered in his ears. In the depths of the reflection, an image wavered, a glimpse of the past, something buried that was clawing its way to the surface. Then the whispers shifted, growing clearer, more coherent. "Remember," they hissed, wrapping around him and squeezing tight. "No!" Jake shouted, backing up until he crashed into Mike, sending the two of them tumbling against the splintered boards. The cabin trembled, revealing a fragmented seam of memories, raw and jagged, just waiting to spill out. Dread pooled low in his stomach as the faces from the photo were drawn into the shining glass, their expressions morphing into horror. They reached out like live wires, desperate and haunting. "Jake, help us!" A voice echoed, blending with the others, electrifying the air around them. Something felt wrong. He had to think, stay in control. "We have to smash it!" Jake yelled, heart racing. "It's feeding on no. Don't!" Mia cried, suddenly spinning back toward him, her eyes ablaze with a mix of fear and something else. "It's all connected. We can't deny them." "What do you mean?" Jake shot back, panic bubbling in his throat. "You want to stay here and be trapped?" Before she could respond, the mirror grew brighter, pulling all of their gazes. Images against the surface twisted and warped, displaying flashes of their lives as children, even the things they wished they could forget. They were moments twisted by time, happiness and sorrow mingled, threatening to engulf them completely. The walls shuddered in response, vines creeping closer, tendrils of darkness curling up from the floor, eager to entrap them. Jake could feel the air grow thick with despair, texture sharp like broken glass. Then, the voice from the mirror morphed, becoming eerily familiar, a terrifying echo from his past. "Jake, come home in an instant." Jake felt the cabin shift, time and space tangling around him. The floor wobbled as he swallowed back emotions that threatened to overflow. "What does that mean?" he whispered, his hands trembling as he took a step forward, curiosity and dread grappling within. Before he could react, the faces in the mirror twisted into a scream of anguish, and the floor jerked beneath them, amplifying their fears, their pasts fighting to pull them back. Everything erupted into chaos. "Jake!" Mia shouted, eyes wide with panic as she grabbed his arm, but the pull of the broken mirror and the darkness behind it was insatiable. As the whispers merged into a cacophony, urging them to give in, Jake felt a blend of hope and horror. They could either confront these hidden truths or be consumed entirely. "Fight it!" he yelled over the roar. "We can't let them win." But the shadows leaped forward, and the light dimmed. In that moment of chaos, the mirror fractured, and Jake was left wondering, would they shatter, or would they find the courage to confront their deepest fears? As the darkness surged and enveloped them, creating a maze of confusion, a fragment of light flickered again, teasing them with the possibility of escape just beyond reach. What lay behind that light? Would they find an escape there, or would it lead to something even darker? The floor rattled violently and Jake lost his footing, slamming hard against a damp corner. The mirror blazed with the light of 1,000 anguished memories, threads of pain woven into a tapestry of sorrow and despair. Each face in the reflection screamed silently, needing recognition, needing to be freed from their torment. "Help us!" the echo twisted through his mind, chilling him to his core. He could feel the weight of their suffering pressing against his chest, threatening to crush him. "Jake!" Mia's voice broke through, firm yet tinged with fear. She was backing away, her grip on his arm tightening. "We need to go. Now." But somewhere within him, Jake felt a desperate yearning to understand. The faces, they were familiar. Memories flashed like lightning, too quick to process but too potent to ignore. "Wait!" he called out, the chaos around him fading slightly as his heart raced with urgency. What if they're trying to tell us something? What if we're supposed to remember? "No!" Mike yelled, shaking in place. "We can't stay here. This place wants us." Jake struggled against the pull of the mirror, a siren-esque call of blurred faces begging for saviors, tears brushed away by unseen hands. "They're connected to us somehow." Another tremor rippled through the cabin, the shadows swirling as if alive. Tendrils of darkness surged toward them, like hungry beasts wanting to devour the last remnants of hope. The glowing light flickered ominously, casting wild shadows that danced and taunted. "Remember," it whispered, echoing in their minds, winding tighter around them. Mia turned to Jake, her eyes wide with both fear and understanding. "I think it wants you to confront your past. There's something you're holding back, something that's keeping them trapped." Jake felt sick. "I can't," he stuttered, wavering at the edge of the abyss. "What if I can't face it? Do you even know what you'll face?" Mia pressed, determination igniting a spark in her. "If you stay stuck here, they'll never be free." The decision crushed down on him, heavy and relentless. He flicked his gaze back to the shimmering surface, diving into the memories that spilled forth. Each flicker ignited emotion, dragging him into a whirlpool of nostalgia, laughter, love, but also the deepest pain. Battered childhood memories flooded in, echoes of laughter turning hollow, shadows dancing around joy before snuffing it out like a candle. With a rush, he lunged toward the mirror, ready to confront whatever came rushing back. Images surged wildly within, faces merging until a singular presence pushed through, a lost fragment of his heart crying out. "Jake!" it said, familiar and pleading. "Don't let it take you!" yelled Mike, panic erupting into chaos again, the room folding like a dark flower. But Jake was beyond the noise now, his breath coming heavy as hope began to kindle in the depths of despair. He reached out instinctively, palm pressing against the cold glass. The moment his skin made contact, fire surged through him, threads of memory unraveling, flooding back with overwhelming force. Visions filled his mind, laughter innocent and pure, a family torn apart, unspoken words hanging in the air, and then, silence. The lights fluctuated violently, blinding him for a fleeting moment. Then everything froze. A peace washed over him, enveloping him like a warm blanket amidst the chaos. But who was he becoming? What was he ready to confront? Just as he braced himself, still beneath the flickering light, he felt at the presence of something dark. An awareness was creeping closer. "Look out!" Mia screamed from somewhere far away, but the warning was swallowed by the emerging whispers, and Jake's own breath caught in his throat. He turned slowly, realizing that the darkness was not just shadows, it was something more, something alive. Something that wanted him to remember, and pay a price. What was waiting on the other side? Would he emerge whole or shattered beyond recognition? As the echoes morphed and wove tighter around him, he was left breathless, clinging to the hope that understanding would grant him freedom. But the growing dread behind him stirred ominously, ready to claim him if he ventured too far. What terrifying truth awaited him behind the mirror's fracture? What would he need to surrender to escape the clutches of the past? Jake's heart pounded violently as he stood before the mirror, an abyss reflecting back the weight of his own soul. The shadows, which once seemed abstract, now coalesced into a figure, an indistinct silhouette emerging from the dark, daring him to look deeper. He could feel the icy breath of fear wrapping around him, tightening like a noose. "Jake!" The urgency in Mia's voice flared again, pulling at his attention. "We need to find a way out. It's getting worse." But as his mind raced, questions swirled like a tempest. What if facing the darkness was the only path to liberation? A flicker of resolve sparked inside him, growing taller than his fear. "I have to know. I have to try." Gritting his teeth, Jake leaned closer to the mirror, the coldness seeping into his skin like a creeping vine. The faces began to swirl faster, their haunting whispers melding into a piercing wail. The heat from the fire behind him flickered weakly, fighting against the gathering storm of anguish emanating from the mirror. "Remember," they pleaded as figures of his past emerged, fragments of forgotten conversations and long-lost faces. His mother's warm embrace, his father's disappointed stare, a laughter that felt like an echo from another lifetime. Suddenly, the darkness expanded, tendrils reaching outward, curling around Jake's limbs as if inviting him deeper. He struggled against their pull, but memories began to unlock, flooding his mind. He stumbled even further into the depths, their stories intertwined with his own. "Jake!" Mia's voice cracked, a mixture of desperation and fear. "Don't let it consume you." Their words registered but felt distant. The reflection morphed again, and now he saw himself a younger version, eyes bright but filled with sadness. "Where were you?" This younger Jake screamed, shaking with anguish. "Why did you forget me?" "Stop." "No." The weight of Jake's own emotion threatened to crush him. Each accusation bore into his heart. He sunk to his knees, the truth swirling around him like venom. The faces leered and cried out, shadows casting deeper into his core as the room around them shifted. Mike stumbled backward, eyes wide in horror. "It's coming for you!" he shouted, the room trembling as shadows surged forward, eager to snatch Jake away, but he wouldn't yield. "What do you want from me?" he shouted into the void, the pulse of fear echoing in the silence that followed. The figures within the glass appeared once again with a singular voice echoing through time, "To remember is to confront." The realization hit him like a brick. "I can't just remember," he choked out, rage and despair mingling. "You're asking me to relive the pain. I thought I left it behind." "Then it stays with you," they hissed, shadows spiraling closer, the air heavy with dread. With every breath, he felt something shifting deep inside. A memory buried so long it was almost unrecognizable pulled itself to the surface, one of betrayal and loss that his heart refused to mourn. The shadows hungrily leaned forward, coaxing the truth from the depths. Then, all at once, the light flickered again, vibrant yet fleeting. "Jake!" Mia's voice rose above the chaos. "We can't hold on much longer. Let me go!" he roared, his hands pressing hard against the mirror, pushing against the shadows. "Or don't," a chilling whisper slithered through his thoughts, "and let reverie consume you." The world around him twisted. Shadows erupted, engulfing him, and Jake closed his eyes, embracing the memories that surged. In that final moment, something crackled, a shift beneath his skin as the darkness bore down upon him. What awaited Jake now? Would he finally grasp the truth buried in his past, or would he be lost forever in the maze of shadows he unwittingly summoned? The mirror beckoned, pulse throbbing with the promise of revelations and dangers yet unknown. The woods stood eerily quiet, the shadows that had once threatened to consume them now felt distant, like a bad dream fading with the morning light. Jake blinked against the brightness, trying to turn back the chaos that claimed his every thought. The stillness wrapped around him like a warm embrace, yet something pivotal had shifted, a delicate balance now unsettled. Jake found himself disoriented, surrounded by his friends but unable to shake the echoes of the past. Slowly, he turned to face Mia, her expression mirroring his own mixture of relief and lingering dread. "What just happened?" she whispered, glancing nervously toward the path leading back into the woods. Mike held her gaze, his brow furrowed. Did we really escape? The weight of their experience hung between them like a thick fog. Or are we just in another part of this nightmare? Sarah, catching her breath, stepped closer. We faced something we had to confront. But did we truly win? Did we free the lost? Jake's heart raced at the thought. He couldn't shake the shadowy remnants of memory that clung to his mind. What if they are still out there? He murmured. What if we didn't help them? In an unexpected moment of clarity, an understanding washed over him. The truth isn't merely about discovering what happened, he spoke softly, almost to himself. It's about acknowledging our own past, embracing it so it doesn't control us anymore. As the words hung in the air, something shimmered within the trees. A flicker of light danced amidst the gloom, beckoning them to approach. Jake's breath hitched in his throat. What now? The group exchanged hesitant glances, each of them battling the fear of plunging back into the unknown. But an undeniable pull urged them forward. As they approached, the air crackled with energy, a sense of urgency crackling beneath their feet. Mia reached for Jake's hand, gripping it tightly as they stepped deeper into the light. Together, they entered a clearing that glowed with an ethereal warmth, illuminating the remnants of the altar where darkness had once consumed them. It lay intact, but now seemed peaceful. The vines receded, and the carved faces no longer twisted in agony. Instead, they whispered something like gratitude, their tension easing into serenity. "Maybe, this is where we make amends," Sarah said quietly, her voice a blend of wonder and resolve. "We offer them our truth, our understanding." Jake nodded slowly, the weight of her words settling deep within him. He faced the altar, heart pounding yet steady. "We didn't forget you," he said, addressing the spirits who had been trapped. "We remember you now. We will not ignore your stories or our own." With every word spoken, the energy around them began to shift. The atmosphere thickened, and the shadows that once clung to them unfurled into a gentle breeze. The chorus of voices chimed in together, echoing through the trees, their grief intertwined with a sense of release. A warm wind swept through the clearing, lifting the burdens of despair as if the woods themselves were exhaling a long-held breath. It felt cathartic, like shedding layers of pain that had haunted them for far too long. Jake closed his eyes, focusing on the pain tied to the past, surrendering it in his heart. "We're here with you. We're so sorry for what happened, for how you've been forgotten. We will share your story. We promise." He felt Mia squeezing his hand tighter, lending him strength. Mike and Sarah joined in, voices blending into a chorus of hope that resonated through the clearing. Each heartfelt declaration broke down barriers, transforming the tension into something pure, something beautiful. As they held on to the moment, a brilliant light erupted from the altar, illuminating the shadows of the woods around them. The whispers transformed, lifting into song, a melodic cry of release that pierced through the air, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Tears brimmed in Jake's eyes as he stood there, a profound sense of healing coursing through him. The darkness was being returned to the earth, the woods, once shackled, were free at last. But in this release, there was one final price. The churning memories began to calm, but he knew that they could not erase what had happened. They had faced the darkness head-on, and in doing so, they had grown stronger. "Time to go home," he said finally, his voice carrying an unshakable conviction. As they made their way back through the woods together, the warm glow of dawn enveloped them, the sun breaking free from the horizon. The once oppressive presence of the past had been lifted, replaced by hope and new beginnings. They were not merely survivors, they were storytellers now, bearers of a truth once forgotten. Stepping out of the woods hand in hand, they vowed never to let fear dictate their lives again. The whispers of the forest faded behind them, transformed into a gentle melody of remembrance. They had faced the darkest corners of themselves and emerged whole. There would be no more shadows to haunt their steps, only the light of their newfound truth, guiding them forward. And now, for you, reader, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything.